I've been thinking about thinking. Since being involved with the emergent podcast series with Learning Uncut with Michelle Ockers and Shannon Tipton, we've been flooded with ideas about how learning and development can emerge stronger. What do we need to do to really take a new and fresh look at ourselves in order to add better business value back into organisations? So in a new piece of thinking that we've been doing under the Emerging Stronger programme, we've really started to look at thinking habits, and we've defined those as those kind of persistent perspectives and kind of tenacious tendencies that we have that influence the way that we approach our work. And what we've identified is that to emerge stronger, to drive better business value, to be more flexible and more adaptable, we need to really adopt 5 new types of thinking habits. When we think about the value that we bring to the organisations we work in, how do we think about that? And what we identified is that those with a business-first thinking habit were looking to solve the business problems of the organisation. And we've had plenty of opportunity to get involved with that over the last year. And it really means transitioning from a learning-first thinking habit, which is about what can I do to create great learning solutions, to what can I do to solve a business problem.
When it's putting business first, it means looking at how the business you serve operates and what are their pain points. And usually there's 3 things that they're concerned with. One is making money. The other is saving money, reducing costs in some way. And finally, it is reducing risk. There'll be more specific ones for your company, but those are the basic 3 that companies are concerned with. And it's your job to find out what those are.
Don't just design stuff and expect people to want it. Ask the business, what are the problems they need? Not what do they want, but what are the problems they want to solve, and then work at how to solve those.
In many ways, it should be just an automatic reaction. Your role in L&D is to put business first. It's not a debate. It's not an issue. If you're not putting business first, then it means that you're focusing on something other than the needs of the organization. If you're focusing on something other than the needs of the organization, to put it bluntly and simply, you're not doing your job.
When we think about our role as a learning and development professionals, do we think of ourselves as kind of a knowledgeable expert? We know what we're doing when it comes down to learning. That is great. But the new type of thinking habit that we need to bring to that is the one of becoming an empathetic explorer. i.e., it's not just what we know, but how we get immersed in the organizations that we're supporting. How are we listening to the issues? How are we understanding the complexity of the situation?
There are many areas where L&D has to take on a listening stance. In Microsoft, Satya Nadella talked about moving the organization from being know-it-all to learn-it-all. And I think that's a great stance for L&D. You don't know what's going on in the organization unless you talk to people, you listen to their concerns, and you try to solve their real problems in the workplace.
We fall into order taking too often in L&D. We need to apply performance consulting to our practice. We need to be the source of truth for the workforce capabilities so that we can help the business succeed in the outcomes that they desire and that they need from the workforce. We are in the largest scale job transformation in human history, and L&D needs to be a key component in the business strategy itself, and we must be in the conversation.
Group of people we don't listen to sufficiently are actually the people at the end. We often design training without actually having asked the end user what they need, and they're the ones who really feel the pain. They feel the direct pain. So I think we should really listen to them as well.
You should also be listening to what's going on outside the organization, for trends in L&D, for changes in the business environment, so that you're sensitive to what's going on in the outside. You can bring the outside into the organization, and you can build that into your conversations and to your listening stance.
What we found is that when we want to emerge stronger as a result of disruption, we have to really think about bringing the outside in, developing a thinking habit of interdependence rather than perhaps independence, where we've traditionally provided a service to people. Now we're co-creating value with people.
We have to let the outside in because our learners or the individuals interacting with our content are on the outside. They're already seeing the things that are external and experiencing them. And we can't expect them to go from that world into ours that's in our myopic view. It's going to be very disorienting for them. They're likely going to distrust it or feel that maybe it's inferior or just different or awkward. And it's not really mimicking what they're seeing when they experience day to day.
L&D is working in a complex environment where you're helping organizations adapt and change. In the present climate, adapt and change fast. If all you're doing is reacting to issues, you're always one step behind the business and everybody else. If you bring outside in, if you focus a little bit more on the world outside, then when you come to work with the organization, you're already one step ahead. You're anticipating need, not reacting to concerns.
So we need to bring the outside in because there are solutions outside our L&D bubble. There are solutions outside our organisation that can really help us. And so looking to the outside, what are other people doing? What are other organisations doing? But also what are other departments and teams doing? Can really help us.
It's become important to many L&D functions to take a deeper look at applying tenets of design thinking, for example, into their practices. But design thinking originally came from product design. And similar to Agile, which is a software methodology, a lot of us look at Agile tenets to apply to how we design and deliver learning solutions. So it's critical for us to get outside our box and bring in what we can learn from the outside world.
That you don't always have to look outside of your organization for that inspiration. So you probably already work with a multitude of departments that are under the same evolutionary pressures, which are go faster, be more efficient, deliver better results. And these departments are equally susceptible to disruption. And you can analyze how they've adapted. I think you can ask yourself what you can take from their processes, what similar challenges they have solved, and the lessons that can apply to our profession. And just to use some of the examples that I've encountered over the last 12 months in particular, marketing departments have to understand how to elicit emotion and promote education and action through the materials they produce. Continuous improvement teams and departments must study business processes to strip out waste and improve efficiency. Digital change teams are creating seamless digital-first customer journeys. And I ask L&D professionals, do any of those goals sound familiar? And they probably all do.
When we think about timescales, traditionally our work as learning and development professionals has been pretty much long-term. How do we build capability? How do we change behaviour? How do we raise up the next generation of leaders? We've been very much acting now for the future. But the thinking habit that we really need to adopt and emerge stronger as a result of disruption is the thinking habit of act now. What can I do today to act agilely, flexibly, to address the problems and challenges of today, to experiment more, to think the impact that I can have today, not only for the now, but also for the future.
L&D has to speed up because everything else is speeding up. If you imagine we've got a nice, gentle L&D working at its own pace, developing programs in its own time, while the organization is going mental, that dislocation is going to terminate L&D in the organization. We are speeding up because everything is speeding up.
So we need to speed up. We need to be able to deliver quickly. We don't want courses that are, we plan it for 2 years ahead that you're going to be on that confident communication course, next year or in 2 years ahead. We need it now. People need to learn right where they are in the flow of work.
I always think of speed and what we can learn from the outside world. And I always think about the analogy of a Formula One car. Now, they've stripped out all of the creature comforts and they've maximized speed. If it doesn't improve performance directly, then it's removed, improved, tested, and retested. If L&D teams can use this or similar examples, then they can spend all year thinking about how to make it go quicker. And that's the only focus, for example. It makes it quite easy to strip your engine apart and start to prioritize and accentuate certain parts of it. I think it's test, retest, get your lap times down each time.
The key to helping our workforces achieve the outcomes the business needs is for us to become more rigorous in our process in L&D and become as efficient as we can. And additionally, what's critical is to ensure each role in L&D clearly understands what their role actually is.
I think the trick is in actually taking a little bit of time at the beginning of the process. If we're asked for something, if we spot something where we think that we can really add business value, take a moment to try and understand what that means. When we think about risk in innovation, traditionally our decisions have been made based on what we've been able to be successful at in the past. It's a hold-on thinking habit. But we found that the new thinking habit that will help us to emerge stronger is a move-on thinking habit. Our willingness to be able to understand the situation we're in and to be willing to let go and try something new. That will actually help us be more flexible, more adaptable, and open our eyes up to new opportunities that will allow us to emerge stronger.
What we're trying to do is change behaviors, change attitudes, upskill people. Upskilling is really important. And I think the how we do it is having a really clear, solid foundation, a framework to work from, so that you understand the factors that cause effective learning. You understand the factors that really help transfer into the workplace.
The simple answer to this is data will tell you. When you look at user analytics, that's one slice. So if you're putting out a piece of content, look at how many downloads or how many likes, how many comments, is there any engagement? That's only one slice of the picture, though. Then you also want to look at impact. Are you seeing desired results based on that asset?
I think it's really good to be informed by the evidence-based practice that's worked for us in the past. Of course, be informed by that. But we also have to look at what's needed in the system of our organisation today. And sometimes that means letting go of the good practice that we've done in the past in order to embrace something new.
We need to dedicate resources to R&D, especially with the explosion of learning technologies that are happening in our field. It's important for everyone in L&D to have both data and technology acumen. Not everyone has to be a guru in these areas, but it's critical to the practice and to the learning experiences we design and deliver. It's also important to stretch yourself and try things you're uncertain about. If last year proved anything, it's that we may be disrupted at any time and have to pivot.
I think that if you're going to stay relevant, you've got to work out a system of letting things go, and not just once as a once-off, but a process of re-engineering, perhaps once a year. Start from that tabula rasa. Is everything we're doing totally focused on delivering what is needed for the organization? And if it isn't, have the courage, unfortunately, and sometimes sadly, to just let it go in order to build back better.
We'd like to say a massive thank you for everyone who's participated and shared their ideas of the behaviours that we can change in order to make that shift to becoming stronger through disruption. So if you'd like to hear more of the ideas shared by our emergent Learning Uncut podcast guests, then you can of course go and listen to the full interviews. And also, why not download the ebook on 5 New Thinking Habits that's been published by Go One.